Is Springbank's budget buy good enough to replace its lowest age statement whisky? We're about to find out. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, today I'm taking a look at two Springbank offerings, both of which have featured pretty heavily on this channel in the recent past, and I thought it'd be interesting to pitch their budget option, their blended malt, the Campbeltown Loch, which takes a load of their own produce along with whiskies from all of the other Campbeltown distilleries, mixes it together and brings out something, well, distinctly Campbeltown, but, well, let's be honest, a bit cheaper and a hell of a lot more available up against their base regular offering, I guess, the Springbank 10. Both of these I really enjoy, but I've never pitched them head to head, and I think this is going to be interesting because in theory there's not a big price gap between these two. Pretty much everywhere you go, the Campbeltown Loch is coming in at 40 quid a bottle. Meanwhile, the Springbank 10, well, you're probably going to pay more for it because you're going to have to buy it on the secondary market because it's not really available. But if you are lucky enough to get one, either you actually go to the distillery or just find someone in a shop who likes you, then, well, I paid 55, I believe, for this one about a year ago. So maybe it's 60, maybe it is verging on half the price again, but it's still relatively in the realms of affordable for what is, well, yeah, pretty hype whiskey. Just from the outset then, are there many key differences? Well, they come in identical bottles, both of which have the Springbank mark kind of embossed in the glassware on the top there. Both rock in at exactly 46%, 70 centilitre bottles. Even the stickering is the same size, front and rear. It is, yeah, you know, it's pretty similar stuff overall from a visual appearance, but of course that's because Springbank themselves are doing the bottling. When we actually look at the liquid, well, there's a stark difference. If I turn them sideways, the Campbeltown Loch is a lot darker. It's much richer looking compared to the Springbank 10, and the reason for that is because, well, there's a load of sherry cask in there from, I think it was Kilkerran in this particular one. The other thing that makes this interesting, of course, is that actually Campbeltown Loch varies quite a lot. Of course they all do a bit, but for those of you who have seen my review of Campbeltown Loch, I also have this, which is a sample, not that sort of sample, a whiskey sample of a previous edition, and well, actually that's lighter than the 10, so it is all of that sherry cask what's kind of making the colour difference in the Campbeltown Loch here. But we will compare both. The sample, this is from an earlier version, this darker one is the most recent release, so the earlier version I've got is a 2021, this is a 2023, and this is also a 2023 Springbank 10. Let's get into it. I'm actually going to pour all of these at once, so I'm going to do the sample measure first. By sample measure, you're all gone after this. Excellent cork pop. So these two over here are both the Campbeltown Loch. This is the older version. It's not aged, but it's been around for longer. This is the current one from that bottle, and then this is the Springbank 10. So aromas first from the older iteration of Campbeltown Loch. Nice, soft, kind of appley pear, definitely some funk in there. The Campbeltown funk does reign supreme still. It's quite sweet, floral, honey, heather. As it opens up, a few fiery notes, just a lick of, well, kind of, you know, gasoline basically. It's getting pokier and pokier, but it always remains quite approachable, quite sweet, everything else, but very natural. Again, the honey, heather, floral, apples, you know, fruitiness going on there. This one, well, just based on the colour of it, look at it, it's going to be a bit different. Big toffee in comparison. I don't know whether I picked up on that when I reviewed this on its own, but in comparison, like, huge, big, breathy. It's obviously a port cask. The raisiny note in that is insane, but actually it's bigger, it's sweeter, it's bolder. Lost a bit of the Campbeltown funk though in comparison. It's not as hot, certainly more approachable in some respects, although it is definitely a deeper tone, but I think it's got less overall flavour. Interestingly though, the legs on the glass, and let me do this justice, a fresh swill round, you have to say, on the new version, on that port finish, yeah, it's there's a lot there. Again, it's not called, excuse me, it's not called a port finish because the whole thing hasn't been port finish, but there is a lot of port finish whiskey in it, as I understand. Comparing then those to the big boy, the Springbank 10, the real McCoy, it's so much more raw. It's unadulteratingly big, damp, fuggy. I'm going to say it again. Damp blankets in a sheep barn, whatever the phrase was. It's there, and it's kind of unapologetic for it. It is as funky as Campbeltown Funk, in my experience so far, has gotten. I'm sure some of the other bottles I've got behind me will be more so when I open them. But yeah, it's all funk. These are much more... Hold on. Now I say that. It is more funky, but the older, clearer Campbeltown Loch release feels a lot closer. A lot closer. It's not quite the same. Still got more sweet notes. The 10 is a bit richer, a bit brasher, a bit more, again, just kind of unforgivingly Campbeltown. But yeah, it's a lot closer. Really, really does change up with the inclusion of that sherry cask finish whiskey that's in that bottle. Right then, which way around we're going to do this? I'm going to do the clearer, older Campbeltown Loch first, then the 10, and then we'll come back for a switcheroo onto the actual bottle of Campbeltown Loch, because we've actually already compared these two in the previous video. So, older but looking younger, that's really throwing my mind. Campbeltown Loch. Cheers. It is sweet, but it's very fresh, almost refreshing. Bit of a menthol vibe kicking in there. Still got those apple and pear notes. The honey is present. I've hardly got any left, so I need to be really careful with this. But it's sweet, light fruity, crisp. Crisp is the word I'm looking for. Loads of freshness in it. Almost like white wine freshness somehow. You know what I mean? That really crisp white wine quality, but without any of the astringency. It comes in, it cuts in sweeter. It's got a load of, well, wood tannins, of course, from the barrel there instead. And I tell you what, it is a fantastic drop. It really is. I've hardly got any left. I want to save a tiny sip for a bit later on. But that is, I would say, a fantastic entry into real Campbeltown stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, Glen Scotia out there doing some stuff equally as available, equally as cheap, and it's very good and it is very Campbeltown, but nothing I've had from them in that price bracket so far has matched, yeah, that early Campbeltown Loch. Of course, a lot of their whiskey is in it, but anyway, that one, yeah, so far for me, a little better. On to then the real McCoy, the Springbank 10. Cheers. That just slaps every time. The bottle gets better. I'm running a series on this where I try it every couple of months, every few months, to see how much it improves. Every time I go, oh yeah, it's there again. It's bigger, it's hotter, it's breathy, it's a load peatier. Peat value in, I think both of these pretty low, to be honest, in the Campbeltown Loch. It's definitely there in the 10. Much more present. It's sweet peat though, it's not overly fiery, it's not burning, it's just, it's there, it's super earthy, quite dank, quite mossy. It's got a hint of that sea breeze, the salinity, because of course Campbeltown is a peninsula and, well, it's sea on all sides, so unsurprising, not as salty, not as briny as some other some other coastal distilleries can do, but it's there and I really appreciate it. It's helping balance off what is otherwise something very earthy, very rich peat bog centric, but yeah, very nice indeed. In comparison then, the new Campbeltown Loch, is it enough? Is it close enough to be able to replace the Springbank 10 because ultimately it's hard to get, or is it not a patch? We're about to find out. Cheers. Interesting. It's a lot closer than the aroma or the visual or the body would have you believe. I'm not going to do this because I've not really got enough of the older, lighter Campbeltown Loch to be able to do it justice. But I think if you actually mix them together, you'd end up coming out with something a bit closer to the 10, because whilst the light one had all of the zinginess, all of the freshness, all of the, I guess, mineral characteristics, I guess, of the 10, the newer version, that deep, dark, you know, the port cask finish stuff that's in there, brings a load of depth with it, and it is actually a bit more peated. It's not, it really isn't showing through massively on the aroma, because the aroma is just overtaken by just the amount of, well, raisiny sweetness from those port barrels. But the flavour, it is sweeter than the 10, but you do get a lot of that rich, earthy body. Not as much. It is like, it feels like a graduation. It's, you start off with this, and if you like it, and if you're interested in that bit of funk, that bit of earthiness, that bit of slight, let's be honest, Campbeltown oddity, it's going to gear you up for the 10. If you jump straight in for the 10, there's a very good chance you're going to go, what is that? I don't like it. If you've never had anything like that before. With time, as I say, it gets better and better, and you do start to love it. But the first time I tried this, I went, I understand the hype, but I don't know yet if it's for me. And since then, well, I've been stopping myself drinking this bottle because I want to document it over the year. So, yeah, it really does. It works your way into your psyche, that one, because once you understand it, and it can take a while, it is just something phenomenal. I don't think the Campbeltown Loch, either version, really replaces the 10. The 10 is just so uniquely itself in comparison. But if you can't get the 10, or you don't know if you want to go to the effort of getting the 10, the Campbeltown Loch is a great place to start, because it will help you identify whether you do or not. What you've got to imagine is that the 10 is the, almost everything in here, take a bit of the sweetness away and then amplify everything up, all of the peat, all of the bogginess in effect. It's in there somewhere, wriggling around at the bottom. But the 10's so much drier, so much more refined, so much, well, less approachable, but in and of itself, kind of a better, more refined product for those that do enjoy it. A lot of waffle in there, I appreciate, but I hope it gives you some kind of, yeah, idea of what to expect. I think everyone, really everyone, if you're marginally interested in Scotch, should go and get a bottle of the Campbeltown Loch. It doesn't really matter which one you get, whether it's the lighter one or the darker one or what year it is, because whilst they are different, and some people will prefer one over the other, and actually I've gone back and forth on these, I'm really not sure which one I prefer. There's enough similarities to go, okay, yes, it is kind of the same product. Of course, there's a shed load more raisiny notes in this dark one, there's a load more softer lavender honey notes in the lighter one, but beyond that, after that, the core of the whiskey is very much not the same, but very similar. And as a result, any version of this will give you a really good indicator as to whether or not it's worth going to go and seek out that bottle of the 10 if you can find one. And I'll be honest, if you do even marginally like these, then I think it's probably worth doing it, because it's the full version. It feels like a proper level up on this stuff, which is fantastic and an excellent affordable sipper at 40 quid a bottle. But yeah, I don't know, that 10-year looks better every time I try it, to be honest. And I've now got some 15 in, so very shortly we're going to crack that open and see how that fares. But yeah, the 10, perfectly fantastic as it is. Are there any other whiskies, Campbeltown or otherwise, you would like pitched against either of these two? Let me know in the comments, please, and yeah, we'll take it from there. But that really is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.